again to our channel Bioholic with your Friday educator Olivia.
Today is the fourth part of the locomotion and movement, and in this part I will discuss about the skeletal system of human beings. Okay, so let's start. The skeletal system includes a framework of bones and a few cartilages, and it is important for movement. And in human beings, this system is made up of 206 bones and a few cartilages. It is grouped into two principal divisions, the axial skeleton and the appendicular skeleton. This is the overall structure of our skeletal system, out of which 80 bones are involved in axial skeleton and 126 bones are of appendicular skeleton. Okay, so let's learn about all of them. First of all, the axial skeleton. I have already told that axial skeleton system includes 80 bones, and out of which 29 bones are of the skull, 26 are the bones of the vertebral column, and 24 are the ribs, and 1 is sternum. The bones of ribs and sternum togetherly called as the bones of thoracic cage. Okay. Now I will introduce you all the bones one by one in details. First of all, let's learn which bones are called as the bones of axial skeletal system. The axial skeleton runs along the body's central axis. That's why it is called as axial skeletal system. It is the central core of the human body, and it consists of, as I said, the skull bones, the bones of thoracic cage, and the bones of vertebral column. First of all, let's see the bones of the skull. The bones of the skull support the structures of the face and protect the brain. The cranial bones form the cranial cavity, which encloses the brain and serves as an attachment site for the muscles of the head and neck. The 8 cranial bones include the frontal bone, 2 parietal bones, 2 temporal bones, the occipital bone, the sphenoid bone, and the ethmoid bone. In this picture, we can see clearly the locations of the 8 cranial bones. And the facial bones form the face. There are 14 facial bones that provide cavities for the sense organs like the eyes, mouth, nose, and they protect the entrances to the digestive and respiratory tracts and serve as attachment points for facial muscles. The 14 facial bones are the nasal bones, maxillary bones, zygomatic bones, palatine bones, vomer lacrimal bones, inferior nasal conchae, and mandible. Okay? In this picture, the different colors are representing the different facial bones. And also the auditory ossicles of the middle ear that transmit sounds from the air as vibrations to the fluid-filled cochlea are considered as a part of the skull bones. And the hyoid bone that lies below the mandible in the front of the neck is also considered to be a part of the skull bone. It acts as a movable base for the tongue and is connected to muscles of the jaw, larynx, and our tongue. Okay, now let's learn about the thoracic cage or the bones of the thoracic cage. The thoracic cage is the skeleton of the chest. It consists of the ribs, sternum, thoracic vertebrae, and costal cartilages. The thoracic cage encloses and protects the organs of the thoracic cavity, including the heart and lungs. It also provides support for the shoulder girdles and upper limbs and serves as the attachment point for the diaphragm muscles of the back, chest, neck and shoulders. Changes in the volume of the thorax enable breathing. Nextly, the vertebral column. The vertebral column or spinal column surrounds and protects the spinal cord, supports the head and acts as an attachment point for the ribs and muscles of the back and neck. The adult vertebral column is comprised of 26 bones, the 24 vertebrae and sacrum and the coccyx bones. And the adult vertebrae are further divided into the 7 cervical vertebrae, 12 thoracic vertebrae and 5 lumbar vertebrae. Okay? In this picture you can see the position of the cervical, thoracic, lumbar and sacral positions. Now after the axial skeleton, it's time to learn about the appendicular skeleton. The appendicular skeleton comprises the rest of the bones apart from the axial skeleton. That means the bones that are not located at the central axis of our body, but they are located in the outer part of the central axis, like our hand, foot, etc. So the appendicular skeleton comprises of the pelvic girdle, upper limbs, lower limbs and the shoulder girdle, that is also called as the pectoral girdle. So the appendicular skeleton system has 126 bones, out of which 6 bones are of the girdles, including both pectoral girdle and pelvic girdle, and the rest 120 bones are of the bones of limbs, out of which 60 bones are of forelimbs or our hands, and the rest 60 bones are of our hind limbs or our legs. Okay. First of all, let's see the exact location and the functions of our pectoral or shoulder girdle. The pectoral girdle bones providing the points of attachment of the upper limbs to the axial skeleton consists of the clavicle in the anterior as well as the scapula in the posterior. The clavicle is also called as the collarbone and the scapula is called as the shoulder blades. The clavicles are S-shaped bones that position the arms on the body, lie horizontally across the front of the thorax just above the first rib, and the scapula are flat, triangular bones that are located at the back of the pectoral girdle and they support the muscles crossing the shoulder joint. Nextly, the pelvic girdle. The pelvic girdle attaches to the lower limbs of the axial skeleton and is responsible for bearing the weight of the body and also for locomotion. It is securely attached to the axial skeleton by strong ligaments. It also has deep sockets with robust ligaments to securely attach the femur to the body. The pelvic girdle is further strengthened by 2 large hip bones. In adults, the hip bones are formed by the fusion of 3 pairs of bones, the ilium, ischium and the pubis. So pelvic girdle is present at our hip area. The third one is the bones of the upper limbs or our hands. Each upper limb contains 30 bones in 3 regions. The arm, that means from shoulder to elbow. The forearm, that means the ulna and radius, and the wrist and the hand. The humerus is the largest and the only bone of the arm. It joins with the scapula at the shoulder and with the forearm at the elbow. The forearm extending from the elbow to the wrist consists of 2 bones, the ulna and the radius. The radius and ulna also articulate with the carpal bones and with each other, which in vertebrates enables a variable degree of rotation of carpus with respect to the long axis of the limb. The hand includes the 8 bones of the carpus, the 5 bones of the metacarpus, and the 14 bones of the phalanges. The 8 bones of the carpus is present at the location of the wrist. The 5 bones of the metacarpus are present in the palm, and the 14 bones of the phalanges are making our digits. And lastly, the bones of the lower limbs or legs. The lower limbs consists of the thigh, the leg, and the foot. The bones of the lower limb are the femur or the thigh bone, the patella or the kneecap, tibia and fibula or the bones of the leg, tarsals, the bones of the ankle, and the metatarsals and phalanges, the bones of the foot. One thing you should remember that the bones of the lower limbs are thicker and stronger than the bones of the upper limbs because of the need to support the entire weight of the body along with the resulting forces from locomotion. The femur or thigh bone is the longest, heaviest and strongest bone in the body. It is a very much important information. Many times in any type of competitive examination, this question was there: which bone is the longest bone of our body? The answer will be the femur. Okay. On the other hand, the patella or kneecap is a triangular bone that lies anterior to the knee joint, and it improves knee extension by reducing friction. The tibia or shin bone is located directly below the knee. The fibula or cuff bone parallels and articulates with the tibia. It is not weight bearing but acts as a site for muscle attachment. And the tarsals are the 7 bones of the ankle which transmits the weight of the body from the tibia and the fibula to the foot. The metatarsals are the 5 bones of the foot, while the phalanges are the 14 bones of the toes. In this picture you can see the positions of the tarsal, metatarsals and the phalanges. So that is all about our skeletal systems and the different parts of our skeletal systems. The self-assessment test for today's class is present in the description box. Go and check that. In the next part, I will tell you about the joints of human body that also participates in our locomotion and movement. Okay? Till then, stay tuned with Bioholic.